The morning sun rose gently over Israel's hills, painting the village in a golden light. Smoke curled softly from clay ovens, drifting into the sky like prayers of peace. Children's laughter echoed between stone walls as they chased butterflies across the dusty park. Fathers returned from the fields with baskets of figs. Mothers sang quietly while kneading bread. For a moment, life seemed secure, untouched by fear, untouched by war. The people felt safe beneath the warmth of the sun, believing this peace would last forever. But peace can vanish in a single heart. From the distant battlefield, a voice rose, not of a man, but of a giant. The earth trembled beneath his steps. His roar roared like thunder across the hills. Goliath, the champion of the Philistines, he mocked, he cursed, he dared Israel's army to face him, and as his voice carried into the village, laughter turned to silence, smiles faded, fear spread like fire racing through dry grasses. Mothers clutched their children, fathers whispered in despair, and a shadow fell upon the land. Far from the noise of fear, a young shepherd boy tended his flock. The rolling hills were a sanctuary, the sheep his companions. David laughed as the lamb tumbled clumsily into a puddle. He lifted it with gentle hands, wiping mud from its wool. Even here, dangers came. A force crept from the thicket, eyes sharp, feet ready. David's heart pounded as he waved it off. Small battles, small victories, yet each one demanded courage. And in every act of bravery, whether rescuing a lamb or lifting his voice in prayers, David's faith was growing, shaping him for something greater. Alone in the field, he whispered,
God, help me be brave today, even in little things.
And heaven listened. Soon, God's hand began to move. At home, David's dad called him, not to battle, not to glory, but to a simple task. Bread, cheese, fruits, a delivery for his brothers at war. To David, it seemed ordinary, just another chore of a shepherd's son. But unseen to him, each step he would take carried him closer to destiny. For when God writes a story, even errands become the path to miracles. David reached the camp of Israel, but instead of courage, he found fear. Soldiers sat slump, eyes dimmed, voices hushed. Each day the giant roared, and each day the armies cowered. Then David heard it with his own ears, the mocking voice of Goliath. His heart raced, his breath caught. For the first time, the boy saw the enemy's size, his armor glittering, his spirit towering like a tree. fear pressed in on every side. Yet, in that moment, something stirred within David. Not anger, not pride, but trust. A whisper in his heart reminded him, God is bigger than any giant. In King Saul's tent, despair weighed heavy. Soldiers argued in whispers, but none dared step forward. Then David entered, small, almost fragile, but steady as a stone. Saul, desperate, placed his own armor upon the boy. The heavy bronze slid over David's shoulders. The sword clanged against his side. He stumbled. He nearly fell. But in the weight of that armor, David felt something clear. This was not his strength. He had faced lions before now. He had faced bears. And in every battle, it was God who delivered him. Not weapons, not armor, not kings. With quiet resolve, David set the armor aside and fell still. Even Saul stirred in wonder as the boy declared his faith. Beside a quiet stream, David knelt. He let his hands pass through the cool water, ripples catching sunlight like diamonds. Slowly, carefully, he chose 5 smooth stones, simple, ordinary, yet in his heart, they were more than stones. They were symbols, each one a memory of God's faithfulness, each one a promise, each one a weapon of trust. As he slipped them into his pouch, David prayed, Lord, let it be your power, not mine, that is seen today. And with that, a shepherd boy became a warrior of faith. He roared. The soldiers trembled. The villagers cried out in dread. But David stood tall with a voice that carried like a song of faith. He answered. Then came the moment. Dust swirled as the giant stepped forward. His armor blazed like fire in the sun. His shadow stretched long, swallowing the earth beneath it. His voice shook the valley, mocking, cursing, raging. He laughed at the boy who dared stand before him.
Am I a dog that you come with sticks? He roared.
David stood tall with a voice that carried like a song of faith. He answered,
You come against me with sword, with spear, with javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty. Today he will deliver you into my hands.
The valley grew still. Not a bird sang, not a soldier moved. All eyes fixed on the boy and the giant. David reached into his pouch, fingers trembling, yet steady. He placed a single stone into his sling. One stone, one chance, one prayer. He swung it high, the air whistling with promise. Time seemed to slow. The giant's grin widened. Until the stone flew, swift as light, sure as destiny. It struck with a crack, and the mighty fell. The earth thundered as Goliath collapsed, his shadows broken, his roar silent. For a breathless moment, the world was still. Then, like a flood, hope burst through the camp. The people gasped. A whisper rose from trembling lips. Faith has triumphed. That day, a shepherd boy proved to the world, with God, no giant is too big, no fear too strong, no battle too great, for victory belongs to the Lord.